In today's lesson, we will see some new phonics skills that we will be working on. One of our phonics skills we will be learning is the short I sound. Now the short I makes the I sound. Say I. I is the short I sound we will be hearing this week. I have some words that are in the back of my Apple notepad, and I'm going to show you some words that have the short I sound. We are also going to be working on blending some words that have an R or R sound. So let's see. On Mrs. Collier's notepad, I have a few different words that are written down. So one of the words that I have on my notepad is the word crib. Crib. And if I put it all together, I get the word crib. Do you hear the short I sound? And we also blended with the R sound when we said crib. Next, I have the word drip. Drip. If I put it all together, I get the word drip. Did you hear the short I sound in the word drip? Drip. We hear it, the I sound. We also blended with the letter R when we said drip. Drip. Our next word is the word drill. Drill. We hear again the short I sound, and we also blended with the letter R when we said dr in drill. And our last word we're going to look at, we've seen this word before. Do you know what this word is? Will. The word will also has the short I sound. Will. So as we read through our stories and work in our reader's notebook later, be looking for words that have the short I sound and some words that we use when we blend with the letter R. Today we are going to be reading a new story called Prairie Dogs. In this story, we will see some words that are highlighted in a yellow color. These words are our vocabulary words that we will be learning and using this week. Let's get started. Prairie dogs. If you ever visit Oakley, Kansas, you can visit the world's largest prairie dog. It's about 15 feet tall and weighs 8,000 pounds. That prairie dog isn't real, of course, but a sculpture in a theme park. If you want to see real prairie dogs, though, you can go to Prairie Dog State Park. Near Prairie Dog Creek, you can see thousands of prairie dogs living in nature. Prairie dogs are not dogs, but a kind of squirrel. Like dogs, though, they bark. Their high-pitched barks warn each other when enemies are around. These amazing little animals can make a slightly different sound for each kind of enemy. Prairie dogs live on prairies or open fields and grasslands. They are about the size of a rabbit and weigh up to 4 pounds. Their fur can be almost any shade of brown to black. Their tails are stubby. Prairie dogs have short, strong legs and sharp toenails that make them great diggers. In fact, they live in underground burrows or holes and tunnels that they dig themselves. You can spot a burrow by the mound of dirt on top of it. Prairie dogs sit on the dirt hills to look for enemies and to escape from floodwaters. It's fun to watch prairie dogs eat. Like squirrels, they sit up and hold their food in their paws. They eat mostly grasses, roots, and seeds, with some insects and spiders. If prairie dogs get full during a meal, they can store extra food in their chubby cheeks and save it for later. Now that we've read a little bit about prairie dogs, can you describe what prairie dogs look like? We know from our story that prairie dogs are not dogs. They said prairie dogs are like a kind of squirrel. We learned that they have strong legs, sharp toenails, and also chubby cheeks. Do you remember what colors it said a prairie dog would look like? What colors a prairie dog would be? Our story said the fur can be almost any shade of brown to black. Let's see what else we can learn about prairie dogs. Prairie dogs are like humans in some ways. Like people, they live together in family groups and band together in larger communities called towns. Most towns are smaller than half a square mile, but some are huge. The largest prairie dog town covered some 25,000 square miles. That town was home to millions of prairie dogs. Now that's a crowd. Members of the same groups know and greet each other. Family members feed, kiss, and groom each other. The young pups are very playful, so their parents keep a careful eye on them. Neighbors watch out for each other too. A call from one prairie dog will send the others running for safety in their holes. Once the danger passes, an all clear call brings the animals back out. How are prairie dogs like people? Let's think about how they live. In our story, it said that prairie dogs live together in family groups and towns. We all live with some family members, and some of us even live in a town. So prairie dogs are like people because they both have families and they also communicate with one another. Prairie dogs are a key part of nature's balance. The holes that they dig help keep soil healthy. They are also an important part of the food chain. Many animals hunt them for food. Their burrows are also homes for other animals. Unfortunately, not everyone is in agreement about the prairie dogs. In the past 100 years, the number of prairie dogs and amount of land where they live have shrunk a lot. Much of the land where they live has turned into farms or pastures. They are not welcome there anymore. Their holes and tunnels bother many people, so they are often treated as pests. These changes have cut the number of prairie dogs down to a tiny portion of what it used to be. As a result, towns and states have discussed what to do about prairie dogs. Some areas have even passed bills and laws to protect these important adorable, and playful animals. Now, why do some people want to make laws to protect prairie dogs? Well, there could be lots of reasons. We could say that some people think prairie dogs are great animals. Some people think they are cute and they want to protect them. But we also discussed how prairie dogs help keep soil healthy, so they are helpful animals. All of those are great reasons that some people would want to have laws to protect prairie dogs. Can you think of another? Now let's look back in the story at our vocabulary words that we saw in prairie dogs. Our first vocabulary word that we see is the word creek. Creek. Say the word creek. At the bottom of the page, underneath the red letters that say Introduce Oral Vocabulary, here is where we will find the definition or meaning of these words. Our first word, creek, means a small stream or brook. In our story, it says, near Prairie Dog Creek, you can see thousands of prairie dogs living in nature. So a creek is a small stream or brook. Our next vocabulary word is the word warn. Warn. Say the word warn. The word warn means to tell others about danger. In our story, it says, their high-pitched barks warn each other when enemies are around. Our next vocabulary word is the word crowd. Crowd. Say the word crowd. The word crowd means a large number of people or animals gathered together. In our story, we see the word crowd when it says, now that's a crowd. Our next word is the word agreement. Agreement. Say the word agreement. The word agreement means having the same feeling or opinion. In our story, the word agreement is used when it says, unfortunately, not everyone is in agreement about the prairie dogs. So our word is agreement. Our next vocabulary word is the word disgust. Disgust. Say the word disgust. The word disgust means talked about with another person or group. In our story, the word disgust is used when it says, as a result, towns and states have discussed what to do about prairie dogs. So our word is disgust. Our last vocabulary word is the word bills. Bills. Say the word bills. The word bills means an idea for laws that are presented to the government. In our story, the word bills is used when it says, some areas have even passed bills and laws that protect these important, adorable, and playful animals. So the word is bills. Now we are going to go over our sight words. On this page, it is also called words to know, but these are going to be our sight words for this week. So what we will do, we will look at the card on the page, read the word in blue, and then read the sentence. So our first word to know is the word of. Of. This bunch of flowers smells sweet. Can you think of a question to ask that uses the word of? What if Mrs. Collier said, "Would you like some of my Halloween candy?" Can you think of a question to ask using the word of? Our next word is the word how. How. Say the word how. Our sentence says, "How do cats see in the dark?" How. Can you think of a question to ask that uses the word how? Mrs. Collier could say, "How many of you stayed up late this weekend?" How. Can you think of a question to ask using the word? Our next sight word is the word make. Make. Say the word make. In our sentence, it says, "She will make a loud sound in music class." What if Mrs. Collier said, "Would you like to make some cookies together?" The word is make. Next, we have the word some. Some. Say the word some. Our sentence says, "The boy sees some cows in the field." Could you think of a sentence that you could say that uses the word some? Mrs. Collier could say, "I saw some birds flying." Some. Can you use the word some in a sentence? Next, we have the word why. Why. Say the word why. Our sentence says, "Why do some people like a sour taste?" Why. Can you think of a sentence that uses the word why? Mrs. Collier could use the word why in a sentence. I could say, "Why is my dog so messy?" And our last sight word is the word animal. Say the word animal. Our sentence says, "This animal feels soft when the girl pets it." Animal. Can you think of a sentence that uses the word animal? Mrs. Collier could say, "I love animals." Before we read our story, How Animals Communicate, we are going to talk about our target skill. This will be the skills that we want to be able to master or do well by the end of our lesson this week. One of our target skills that we are going to be learning this week is about main idea and details. When we're reading nonfiction or stories that are true, they are usually about one topic. They have a main idea or one important idea about the topic. Details are facts that tell you more about the main idea. Details can give you a clearer idea of the topic. You can list the main idea and details about a topic in a web like this one pictured below. Our second story that we will be reading today is called How Animals Communicate. So our topic that we will be talking about is animal communication. Animals can send messages. Animals can understand messages. Some move their bodies. Many make special sounds. Why do you think birds sing? Why does a dog wag its tail? You will learn all about animal messages in our story, How Animals Communicate. So let's get started. How animals communicate. Remember, our essential question that we need to be thinking about as we read is, how do animals communicate? An animal will tug and grab. Our caption on our photo says, animals touch. So let's read our sentence at the bottom together. An animal will tug and grab. One more time. An animal will tug and grab. An animal can hug its baby. How do elephants hug? Look at our picture of the two elephants. We can see that the mother elephant has her trunk or nose around the baby. So we could say that elephants hug by using their trunks. The dog and cat are friends. How can you tell? In our picture, we can see the cat and dog are laying with each other. It almost looks like they're cuddling. So we can tell the dog and cat are friends because they are laying with each other. What is in the grass? Animals can hear it. They will run away from it. And our caption says, animals hear. Do you know what kind of animal is in our picture here? Some might know, but this animal is a rattlesnake. Their tail makes a rattling noise that other animals can hear. A bird will sing, "Here I am." Have you ever heard a bird sing? A wolf will call to its pack, "Here I am." Do you remember in our last lesson when we read about Meg and Ellie and the wolves? If you remember in our story, one of the wolves howled and the other wolves came towards it. So a wolf can call or howl to its pack to let them know where they are at. Why will a dog press its legs down? It will let dogs see I can play. So why will a dog press its legs down? A dog will press its legs down to let other dogs know it would like to play. And our caption says, animals see. Some bees will buzz and dance if they find food. Some bees will buzz and dance if they find food. A mom can tell the smell of its baby. A mom can tell the smell of its baby. And our caption at the top says, animals smell. Why do you think it would be important for a mom to be able to tell the smell of her baby? We could say maybe if the baby and mother got lost or separated, the mother could smell and see if she could smell her baby. An animal can have a bad smell. It will make animals run away from it. So in our picture, we see a deer, but we also see another animal hiding in the grass. Do you know what that black and white animal is called? That animal is a skunk. Have you ever smelled a skunk spray before? P.U. A skunk smell is a horrible smell. I would say I think it smells like rotten eggs. You do not want to smell when a skunk sprays. So in our story, we were talking about how animals communicate. If we remember our essential question, it asked us how animals communicate. Well, in our story, we saw a lot of different ways. In our story, we saw that the polar bears communicate by touch. The birds communicate by hearing. Dogs can communicate by sight or what they see. The giraffes could communicate by smell. Have you ever seen an animal communicate by seeing or maybe even smelling? I'm going to be reading our decodable, Brad and Chris. As we read our story today, be sure to be listening for the short I sound, so the I sound in words. As we read our decodable, Mrs. Collier will read a sentence, and then I want you to try and read it with me. So let's get started. Brad Frog is red. Read that with me. Brad Frog is red. Brad has tan dots. Read that with me. Brad has tan dots. Brad is red and tan. Read together. Brad is red and tan. So we can see in our first picture that the frog is Brad. We learned that Brad is a frog who is red and has tan spots, tan dots. So this is Brad. Brad has a pal. His pal is Chris. Let's try reading that together. Brad has a pal. His pal is Chris. Chris Frog is tan. Chris has no dots. Let's read that together. Chris Frog is tan. Chris has no dots. Chris is tan and red. All together, Chris is tan and red. So we can see in our picture that this frog is Chris. Chris is a frog who has tan skin and red stripes. We will go on a trip, Chris, Brad said. Let's try and read that together. We will go on a trip, Chris, Brad said. It will be fun. Brad did not tell Chris why. Let's try together. It will be fun. Brad did not tell Chris why. Brad led Chris. Brad and Chris hop on pads. Let's try together. Brad led Chris. Brad and Chris hop on pads. Hop, 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 hop. Together. Hop, 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 hop. Can we get some bugs and grubs? Said Chris. Can we get some bugs and grubs? Said Chris. Not yet, said Brad. Not yet. Not yet, said Brad. Not yet. Look, Brad, Chris said. Bugs, bugs, bugs. Let's read the first part of that together. Look, Brad, Chris said. Bugs, bugs, bugs. Grubs, grubs, grubs. Yum. Grubs, grubs, grubs. Yum. So in our story, our two frogs, Brad and Chris, went on a trip. They hopped and hopped. And what did they end up getting to do? They got to eat some bugs. Would you ever eat some bugs? I'm sure a lot of you are saying, no, 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 I would not. For the last part of our lesson, we are going to be completing a phonics activity in our reader's notebook. You will need to open your reader's notebook to page 89. So Mrs. Collier will circle our page number at the bottom of our workbook page. So we are on page 89. We are going to be working on doing some blends with the letter R, but that make the R sound. So if you have your reader's notebook open to page 89, let's get started. Our directions tell us to name each picture. Write letters from the box to complete the word. We have br, cr, dr, gr, and tr. So we need to match the letters from the box to complete the words we see in the blanks. So we see all of these words are missing some letter. So we need to find which of these missing letters is going to name what we see happening in the picture. So let's look at number 1. On number 1, we have a picture of a face with a smile. We can see that there's an arrow pointing to the smile. Well, if we look at the letters we need to fill in, we know we only need 2 letters, so our word is not going to be smile. But do you know another word for the word smile? Grin. Grin. Which of these letters would it make the gr sound to say gr in? Would we say br in, cr in, dr in, gr in, or tr in? We would use the gr to make the word grin. To make the word grin. On number 2, what do we see a picture of? We see a picture of somebody getting their hair cut. We can see the scissors with the hair and the hair falling to the ground. Do you know what it is called when you get a little bit of hair cut off? A trim. A trim. Which of the letters from the box would make the tr sound to finish the word trim? To make the word trim, we would use the TR to say trim. Trim. Now, I want you to look at number 3. In number 3, we see our arrow is pointing to some water. We have the ip sound, but we need to find what the 2 beginning letters are. If you look up in our word box, what 2 letters do you think would complete this word? So our arrow is pointing to the water coming out of the faucet. For number 3, we would write drip. We would put the dr sound to complete the word drip, like how water drips out of the faucet. On number 4, it might be a little hard to see what this picture is. But this is a picture of something that a baby sleeps in. We have the sound ib at the bottom. We have the sound ib at the end of the word. Do you know what letters we would put in front of ib to find out what the baby bed is called? A baby's bed is called a crib. A crib. So we would put the cr sound. A baby's bed is a crib. Now let's look at number 5. What do we see a picture of in number 5? We see a picture of a boy running Uh-oh, but then it looks like he's about to fall because he did something over a rock. What do you call it? What word are we looking for that ends with ip that would show what is happening in this picture? So what letters from the box would we use to complete the word that ends in ip? We would use the TR sound to say ip, trip. And our last one. In number 6, this is a picture of a hat, but our arrow is pointing to the very edge of the hat. Now, some of us may not know what this word is, so Mrs. Collier will help you with number 6. For number 6, our word ends in im. We are looking for the brim of the hat. So what 2 letters would we need to put in the blank in order to spell the word brim? Brim. We would put the BR letters to say im, brim. Let's go back and read over all of our words that we used blends with R to make. Our first word was grin, trim, drip, crib, trip, and brim. Once you have completed filling in our Reader's Notebook page, we are all done with the lesson today. Now remember, we will not have live interventions today since Mrs. Collier is going to be helping in another classroom here at school. So for your intervention times, be sure to be logging on Imagine Learning for reading intervention and Imagine Math for math intervention. I'll see you later.